I'm dazed and confused. Is it stay, is it go? Give me a clue, 'cause I just want to know. Give me a clue as to where I am at.
James Patrick Page was from a well-to-do family where all genres of music were heard in his home. While going to art school, he was trying to decide whether music or visual arts was going to be his calling. At just 14 years old, Jimmy joined a skiffle band, the only popular live music in the late 50s in London. He played rhythm guitar, but it was a start, and very quickly music became his passion and his calling. Thank God.
Well, mama don't allow no guitar playing here. Oh, no, she don't. Mama don't allow no guitar playing here. Well, we don't care what mama don't allow. Gonna play that guitar any old how. Mama don't allow no guitar playing.
Then, very soon afterwards, he started doing session work at 16. At this age, he just loved the great pay, didn't have to travel, and he got to play more genres of music. Here's Jimmy discussing the union allowing this kid into the business.
Jimmy Page, what is a session guitarist?
It's a guitarist who's called in to make records, not necessarily doing one-night stands, hoping that they'll get into the hit parade, but only getting an ordinary fee.
He doesn't work for any particular singer all the time. It's different singers.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I gather there are only a few young session guitarists like yourself. Why is this?
Well, it seems to be quite a closed shop. The musicians' union sort of have their own chaps in, and they don't really like to get the young people in because the old boys need the work.
Well, how did you become a session guitarist?
I don't know. Perhaps they thought I had the feel for it.
How long have you been playing the guitar?
4 years.
Have you always been a session guitarist?
No, only in the last 18 months.
Jimmy was being used for every type of music the studio needed. He literally played on over 100 studio albums, but here are a few you might recognize and be surprised by. On Joe Cocker's With a Little Help from My Friends, you'll hear Page's stabbing guitar lines. I'm sure you'll recognize this intro. Van Morrison's first group, Them, on Baby Please Don't Go. On Jeff Beck's first solo album, Truth, Jimmy played rhythm on his infamous Beck's Bolero. To this day, they both take writing credits. Jimmy played on a couple of Donovan's albums and showed up for a few of those songs when Donovan did a concert in the 90s. On his Season of the Witch and Sunshine Superman songs, he got to be a little psychedelic.
Sunshine came softly through my...
Please forgive me one indulgence, a personal opinion. I am now convinced that Page left his very lucrative session work, where he became a master at recording in the studio, and his goal was now to start his own band. Page was shrewd. He was rehearsing for Led Zeppelin. He used the Yardbirds as a training ground to learn the business, and he took some of their music for his band. Jimmy even took their manager, the notorious Peter Grant. Of course, Jimmy brought him in earlier by pissing off their former manager. Well done, mate.
Jeff and I had spoken before about actually how good it would be if the two of us were in the same band, in the Yardbirds, and at the time it didn't seem possible because it was known as 5 Live Yardbirds, and it couldn't possibly be 6. And then suddenly I was there when the whole band, one of the guys decided to lead the bass band. I started on the bass just to help them out, and then we got into the dual lead guitars, and it was fantastic, really, really good.
Here's how Jimmy worked his way into becoming their lead guitar man. Jimmy was at their show the night their bass man quit at a drunken gig at Queens College. That night, he promised to come in on bass until he could teach the rhythm guy, Dredja, the bass lines. Here is some very rare footage of Page on bass, Dredja and Beck on guitars, which was the lineup that finished that tour. As stated before, when Beck had a breakdown in San Francisco, Page took over as lead guitar at the Carousel Ballroom on August 25th. Jimmy got what he wanted again. Well done, mate. One of the few highlights in Jimmy's 13 months with the band was the incredible Beck-Page dual lead guitars on the psychedelic rock single Happenings 10 years time ago. It was the only single that ever used this lineup. But Jimmy got his way again. On the studio version of that song, he brought in future Led Zeppelin bassist John Paul Jones. Well done, mate. Jimmy's rehearsal with the Yardbirds was complete. He now had quite a few songs in his head, performance experience, recording experience, his favorite bass player, knew how to direct a band, management he knew was ruthless, and was now ready for the big time. He formed the only band he was ever really in. It was now time to get the light out. But obviously, Jimmy had planned well before he left the Yardbirds earlier in July of '68. It's incredible to me that it only took 3 months to form the group and rehearse and record Led Zeppelin I in September and October of '68. It was released in January. Well done, mate. Again, the old blues masters benefited from the Brits playing their music, especially Willie Dixon. Willie sued Zeppelin in 1985 and earned a multi-million-dollar out-of-court settlement. Well done, Willie. Led Zeppelin and many other British bands who first discovered and then covered his songs helped raise Willie's recognition. Willie was finally inducted into both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And to this day, Willie's Blues Heaven Foundation still helps blues artists recover royalties and rights. You gotta check them out. Hey, thank you for watching How the Brits Saved Our Blues. Keep the blues alive.